So today our people who stoke the fire in our wood-burning stove and down to the town. So it took a little longer to set everything up. But now we're beginning our class on Sri Upadeshamrita by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, his commentary on the two verses 2 and 3 of Upadeshamrita. I was also thinking, in the temple of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj in Vrindavan, he has his temple there. It's called Sri Rup Sanatan Gauriya Mat. And as most temples in India, it has like the marble floors, which in the winter are very cold. And I'm thinking, like, we're trying to heat everything up here, but actually, even without any of the heaters or anything, it's more warm because they don't have internal heating at all. And I remember in the month of January especially, coming downstairs, because I live up on the top, and sitting during the class. And all the devotees are wearing hats and gloves and coats, and you see your breath. It's that cold. So this is nothing. We're sissies. We have to bring in the electric heaters and this and that. So, but at any rate, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Okay. Jai Siparikar Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Govinda Jiv Ki Jai Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jiv Ki Jai Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai Jai Shri Nishringa Bhagavana Ki Jai Jai Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Gorakishwara Das Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Vaishnava Sarvabhaum Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Jai Shri Gaudiya Vedanta Charya Baladev Vibhusan Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Srila Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Trai Ki Jai Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sada Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Surup Damodar Roy Ramanandadi Gauda Parshada Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sigaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Gopa Vardhan Vadashavanatmaka Shri Braj Mandala Dham Ki Jai Shri Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Radha Gopinath Jagannath Radha Madan Mohan Jiyo ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Radha Shyama Sundar Radha Raman Radha Damodar Jiyo ki jai. Srimati Lalita Vishaka Adi Astasaki Vrinda ki jai. Shri Rupa Manjari Rati Manjari Adi Manjari Vrinda ki jai. Srimati Vrinda Devi ki jai. Srimati Purnamasi Yogamaya Devi ki jai. Shri Gopishwar Mahadev ki jai. Sarva Bhishta Pradata Giriraj Govardhana ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jiyo ki jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Shri Bhakti Vigna Vinashana Shri Nrsinga Dev ki jai. Bhakta Pravara Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Charodam Charu Sampradaya Charu Acharya ki jai. Akaramat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat ki jai. Or Ananya Shakamat Samuha ki jai. Shri Vishva Vaishnava Raj Sabha ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaura Trishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Padmanabha Swami Maharaj. And my Dandavat pranams at the lotus feet of all of my Shri Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga. And my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. Hare Krishna. So, yesterday we were hearing from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was quoting various verses from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which were concerning the particular necessity for both those who are in household life and those who are in renounced life. They must both accept initiation into Krishna Nam and Krishna Mantra. And in the same regard is the topic of the necessity of accepting a guru. Why and how this is necessary. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur quoting particular shlokas from the conversation that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had with Ramananda Rai. So you may remember how we discussed about why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desire so much to go on a journey in South India, which took him more than 2 years. Before he returned to Jagannath Puri, he went all around South India. And if you read in Chaitanya Charitamrita about his journey, it describes the names and places and temples that he visited and everything. So much so that those very same places are there today. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that means the guru of our Srila Prabhupada. You know Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati? He's the last one in this line of pictures on the left. Yes, up on the left on the wall. Yes, he's the founder of the Gaudiya Math. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So what he did was he started a project. This was back in the 1920s, 1930s, while he was still present on the planet. He started a project of installing the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in marble. They do this in a lot of places in India to mark a place like a samadhi of a great soul where he was buried. These are places, this is how they mark them, by showing in marble. You've seen that before in Vrindavan, like a lotus footprints, the lotus footprints. And also installing it underneath a kind of roof mandap, sometimes very beautifully carved marble and so forth. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur started a project sending his disciples all around these places mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita in South India, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited, and installing his lotus footprints. They went to more than, I think it was 64 places, actual 64 places that they installed. So those places are still there today. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he also gave his commentary on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and also his guru and father Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur that we're studying, right? So, and yesterday we were hearing about the two different pathways of bhakti. Pathways means marg. Marg means path. So there are two different pathways of sadhana bhakti. Because there are three different levels of bhakti. Sadhana means the beginning stage, where one is practicing sadhana. And he's aiming toward a goal of awakening, is what is called nitya siddha bhav, his eternal moods in his relationship with Krishna. It is called rati or bhav, very deep love and affection for Krishna. So everything that the devotees do in the practitioner stage before reaching this awakening of bhav, nitya siddha Krishna prem, then that is called sadhana. That is the definition, the term is sadhana. So, in approaching the perfectional stage of life, Krishna prem, there are two different pathways of performing the same activities of bhakti, hearing about Krishna, chanting, and so forth, the 9 limbs of bhakti that we've been discussing. Hearing, shravanam, kirtanam, chanting, smaranam, remembering, padasevanam, serving the lotus feet of Krishna, archanam, doing the puja, the worship of the Lord, vandanam, offering prayers, dasyam, becoming the servant of Krishna, sakyam, becoming the friend of Krishna, and atmanivedanam, full surrender of everything, body, mind, words, everything. And atma. Atma means the soul, the very person, the very self. So there are two different pathways. The first pathway is called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And it means adopting in a regulated fashion the actual practices applicable for practicing Bhakti Yoga, which I just mentioned are 9 different limbs, okay? So that type of bhakti is the essential and indispensable for practically everyone who begins to come into the line of bhakti. It is indispensable to practice in a regulated fashion all the different practices described in the Shastras by our acharyas. And actually there's 64 different limbs of bhakti. So Rupa Goswami, Mahaprabhu's direct disciple, he has delineated all of these in his book called the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And he also has explained there that at a particular point in the devotee's practice of regulated bhakti, that there will be a transformation internally, and there will be an attraction developed by the devotee towards the eternal pastimes of the Lord, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam. These eternal Nitya Leela pastimes that Krishna manifested while he was on this planet, from his birth until his disappearance. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Govinda Jiu Ki Jai. Jai Jagannath Jai Gurudev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakradev Ki Jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe Jai Jai Shri Radhe. So when that point comes in the devotee's practice, then that type of practice of bhakti is called, I don't know if you can remember the term, Rag Anuga. Rag Anuga. Rag Anuga Bhakti. And Anuga, the word Anuga means following. So Rag Anuga means to follow the eternal associates of Krishna, like his father, his mother, his cowherd friends, all. to be attracted to serve Krishna in one of those particular relationships that are displayed by the eternal associates. Because they have a natural, eternal state of extreme love and affection for Krishna. It's natural and eternal. It's not that they've developed it over time. It is there eternally in them. They're called Nitya Siddha. And they also descend with Krishna when he comes into the material world and displays his dham and his associates and his pastimes. They also come with Krishna by the inconceivable potency of Yogamaya. This is all manifested on the earthly plane. You see, that's why it's called Bhauma Lila. It's actually the same activities going on eternally, but he manifests them by his internal potency here within the material world, you see. And that's by his causeless mercy. Because when the conditioned souls will hear about these beautiful pastimes of Krishna, their hearts will become attracted. You see, that's Krishna's very powerful spiritual potency, that his pastimes in his name and his form and all, they're so filled with this beautiful frame, and everything about Krishna is attractive and sweet. So if Krishna didn't descend into the material world and display his pastimes, the conditioned souls of this world would never know about them. Not even Lord Brahma, not even Brahmaji, the creator, the sub-creator of our universe, first created being, from Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, all. They would not know unless Krishna had descended into this world and also imparted the Vedic knowledge at the beginning of the creation. Krishna imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Brahma. And then Brahma spoke this to his sons and his descendants, and then a line of Vedic knowledge came down from there, you see. So, I'm just telling this as a little bit of a background description. And yesterday we discussed this quite extensively, that by performing bhajan under the guidance of such a bona fide guru who is promoting this pathway of raga nuga bhakti, then one will very quickly attain service to Krishna, who is known as Brajendra Nandan, the son of Maharaj Nanda, you see. And one will quickly attain service to Krishna in Braj, you see. Otherwise, without this kind of practice of Raganuga bhajan, it's not possible to attain Krishna in Braj. Because a sadhak, a practitioner, who at the time of sadhana, at the time of practicing, he meditates upon and he serves according to his siddha rupa. His siddha rupa means perfected spiritual body that is within our atma, you see. And in this stage, that attraction that he feels towards the pastimes of Krishna, in a particular mood of one of the associates of Krishna in Braj, he meditates upon that personality, that associate of Krishna. He hears about them, and this begins to, just like starting a fire. You start with kindling, and then it gets stronger and stronger, then you put on larger wood, and then the fire is blazing, you see. So in the heart of the sadhak, who is practicing properly, then he becomes acquainted with his internal spiritual form. This is revealed in the heart by the mercy of Bhakti Devi, by the mercy of Krishna's potency of bhakti, you see. So, And when he meditates in that way, knowing himself to be a maidservant of Srimati Radhika. Maidservant means Brajagopi. We've seen all these paintings, Shamrani's paintings and her Sevakunj paintings, all directed by our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, to show us that that is the scene that is taking place eternally in the spiritual world. How Krishna and Radha are sitting on their throne in Vrindavan and being served by their Sakhis, the gopis, and their manjaris in particular. So, this is a whole topic. I'm not going to go much more because I've spent a couple days on this so far. But basically, if he meditates in that way, a sadhak who at the time of sadhana meditates upon and serves according to his siddha rupa, that is knowing himself to be a maidservant of Srimati Radhika, very quickly he attains the service of Radha and Krishna in the mood of a Sakhi. Do you know what Sakhi means?
The cowherd?
No, that's Sakha. Sakha is male and Sakhi is female. So the cowherd boys are called Sakhas, and the cowherd girls are called Sakhis. Actually, the word Sakha means friend. And Krishna has both male and female friends. So the mood of a Sakhi is called Sakhi Bhav. All the gopis, they have this mood, Gopi Bhav. They have that mood eternally. So, then we began to speak about, we read how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that in his ongoing commentary here, this next section is titled The Necessity for Grihastas and Tyagis to Give Up Bad Association. So, association means Sangha. You know that word. So, there are two types of Sangha. Asat Sangha and Sat Sangha. Sat Sangha. Now the word Sat, well, that's Satya. Sat means eternal. Sat means what is eternally existing and is completely true and real. Like this material world is called Asat, because it's not eternally existing. Nothing here is eternally existing. Nothing. Not the planets, not even the shape of the universe. All is coming and going, coming and going, coming and going over eons of time. So the material creation is not permanent and therefore is not Sat. In this context, Sat means eternal. And it also means real. Real, something that is always existing. So, the material association that we have here in this world with persons who are asleep to the reality of spiritual truth, spiritual life, spiritual existence, spiritual self. The association with them is of various types, but it all comes into one category, Asat. Asat Sangha. Asat Sangha cannot help one to attain spiritual perfection. Asat Sangha is contrary to that. There's an example of a gemstone which is mentioned in the Vedas. It's called Vaidurya. particular type of gemstone. You can think of it in terms of being like a crystal or a diamond that is cut, and it has all the different facets. And the nature of this gemstone is that when you place the gemstone, like say you put it on a counter or a table, and the objects that are surrounding it, when you look from different angles, that gemstone reflects the color of the particular object, right? So it can have multicolors, when you have like a crystal that's cut into so many, what do they call that? Facets. Yeah, facets. So, but it reflects what's near to it. It reflects. And this is the nature of the jiva, the atma, our soul, is that what we associate with, we reflect that. And that's why this is one of the topmost important principles for aspiring bhaktas, aspiring devotees. And that's why Rupa Goswami, he's pointing this out, that one has to give up that bad association and adopt the good association, which is called Sat Sangha. And it's described that the sadhak, he should always associate. He should always associate with a sadhu. Sadhu means saintly person. And that sadhu has to be affectionate to him. These are the qualities that are necessary in the sadhu in order for you to associate with them. That means that the sadhu has affection for you. He wants to give you his association. He wants to help you, you see. So that's the first quality, and also svajatiya is another quality, which means that the sadhu is he, because there are different types of sadhus. Some persons are worshipping various incarnations and various forms of the Lord. Just like there are so many people who worship the avatar of Krishna, Lord Ram, who's depicted in the Ramayana, and married to Sita Devi. He was a great king, and the whole history of the Ramayana where Lord Ram was banished into the forest. You've heard some of those stories before? Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and he had to stay 14 years, and then in the final year, this demon named Ravana kidnapped his wife Sita, and then the whole battle took place, you see. So that's a very wonderful pastime of the Supreme Lord. And it is one of the most fundamental pastimes in the Vedic teachings that have gone on, that have been taught in all the great dynasties of the kings of the earth planet for eons, for billions and billions of years. It's not that Lord Ram only appeared 2 million years ago in Treta Yuga. No, many, many yugas before that. Yes. So that incarnation of Krishna as Lord Ramachandra is also very beautiful and very attractive, and there are great, great devotees like Hanuman and others in the pastimes. So in Vedic culture, that is always there. So many temples of Ram and Sita. Now, what is meant by the term swajatiya? Swajatiya refers to that he is in the same family line. The sadhu with whom you want to associate, the family line, it means spiritual family, spiritual disciplic succession. And his objective and his, Ishtadeva, the worshipable Lord of his heart, has to be the same Ishtadeva whom you want to attain, you see. So if someone is wanting to attain Krishna in Goloka, Vrindavan, and serve him there, like his eternal servants are doing, and they want to enter into Krishna's pastimes, then Krishna and Radha become their Ishtadeva. the Lord of their heart. So their worship has to go on continually. But if they begin to worship another form of the Lord, like Lord Narayan, who has 4 arms, or Lord Ramachandra, even, then this will not be conducive and help one to attain the worship of Radha and Krishna as their ultimate goal. So that's why the second quality is Svajatiya, that sadhu has to be in the same line, the same dynasty. So the first one is affectionate for that sadhu, and then the other one is Svajatiya, that he's in the same line, and the third one is that he's more advanced than you. You must associate with a sadhu who is more advanced, much greater spiritual attainment than yourself. Because if you're associating with those who are in the same level or lower only, that will not be as beneficial. Yes. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is where we left off yesterday. Been doing a review. He asked the question to Ramananda Roy, of the many types of good fortune in this world, which is the best? The term for good fortune is Shreya, and I went into quite an explanation of that yesterday. So Ramananda Roy's reply to Lord Chaitanya was, Krishna Bhakta Sangha Bina Shreya Nahi Ar. That means that there is no real good fortune other. If you want to look for good fortune, you want to have the greatest good fortune in your life, that is available in this world, okay? So he's asking, of all the different types of good fortune that are available, which is the best? And Ramananda Roy replies, there is no good fortune other than the association of Krishna Bhaktas, pure Bhaktas of Krishna. That is true good fortune, you see. Why? Because only that alone will enable anyone to go to the spiritual world. So if someone has gotten that association in their life, it is proof that they are very, very blessed. And actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling that no association other than the association of a devotee of Sri Krishna is ultimately beneficial. Very exclusive. So for association to qualify as Sangha, the following considerations are applicable. So the whole topic is association, and for this association to qualify as Sangha, as true association, then the following considerations are applicable. One is not to associate with a Vaishnava who has a faulty conception of Siddhanta, even if he is within one of the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. I'm going to explain this. This point is worthy of consideration. Now, in order to explain this point, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke in Udupi, that's a place in South India, we've actually gone there, the place of our great Madhva Acharya, founder of our Sampradaya. 800 years ago, he established his place there. In South India, in Kerala. Kerala? Yes, Kerala. It's called Udupi. To this day, you can go there to that temple, and you can see the deity of Krishna that was worshipped 5,000 years ago in Dwarka by Krishna's queen Rukmini. There's an actual deity of Krishna there. And that's a whole long story. So what's being explained here, just to try to bring light on this, one has to understand, what does it mean faulty conception of Siddhanta. One is not to associate with a Vaishnava who has a faulty conception of Siddhanta. Okay? Now, there are different sampradayas, especially 4, that are all throughout South India, all throughout India, and in the universe as well. 4 lines coming down from the beginning of our creation. Have you ever heard of these 4 Vaishnava sampradayas? The first one is from Lord Brahma. It's called the Brahma Sampradaya. And it's coming down onto our planet from upper planetary systems. There's also a Sampradaya coming down from Lord Shiva. Then there's a Sampradaya coming down from Lakshmi Devi, who is the consort of Lord Narayan. And finally, there's a Sampradaya coming down from the 4 Kumaras. Have you ever heard of the 4 Kumaras?
Yes, but I don't know.
Well, the 4 Kumaras are mentioned in many places in the Srimad Bhagavatam. They are the sons created by Lord Brahma when he first began to create. You know who Lord Brahma is, right? Yeah. And you know that he's a devotee of Krishna. But his job is to do the sub-creation of the universe. He takes the materials, the ingredients that Krishna brings into our universe, and he has this very great mystic power that he can create planets, he can create the bodies of living entities, humans and all other species and so forth. So he is called the creator, but actually he's the sub-creator. So when he first created 4 sons from his mind, mental sons, then they were born and they had very young bodies, 4 sons, the Kumaras. And Kumara actually means young boy, right? So Lord Brahma, his creating has a purpose of populating the universe. So the first beings that he's creating, he's also giving them the instruction that they should produce progeny. And that's how the universe will become populated. This goes on at the beginning of Lord Brahma's day. When he awakens from his night, then he again recreates everything each day. And his day and night last 8.6 billion years, just for your information. That's the exact figure in the Vedas. So in this case, the 4 Kumaras, these young sons of Brahma, he instructed them that they should procreate. But they were very enlightened already from their previous lives, their previous bodies, before being created again as Brahma's sons. They're very, very elevated sages. And they considered that this instruction of our Father is not appropriate for us. Why? Because they were very advanced in spiritual knowledge and they had no interest whatsoever in getting entangled in any kind of material attachments in this world. Getting married, producing children, all of that. Okay? For them in particular, because they have enlightenment. Lord Brahma created many other Manus and Prajapatis who also populated, they followed his instruction. But these 4 Kumaras, they did not. They refused. Brahma became angry, but he controlled his anger. And from that anger, from the middle of his forehead came Rudra, the incarnation of Lord Shiva. The Rudra incarnation, because Rudra also means anger, you see. So that's why Lord Shiva is how he is. Now, anyway, the 4 Kumaras, they chose to not age. Why? Because when the body ages and comes into puberty, sex desire comes and so forth. So they decided, no, we're going to remain as young brahmacharis 5 years old. And to this day, in our universe, they are there as 5-year-old brahmacharis. And they're very, very advanced sages. They also became converted from the monistic conception to Krishna Bhakti, okay? And so they are great acharyas. They've even written, one of them, the Sanat Kumara, they're all called Kumaras. Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumara. So they manifested this literature which describes the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna in a very beautiful, poetic way. This is called the Sanat Kumar Samhita. And in our disciplic line, we also read that and hear, because he has described the ultimate reality and truth, Radha and Krishna, how they are performing in Vrindavan their eternal pastimes in 8 time divisions of the 24 hours, which are going on eternally, right? So, so that's
What's the name of that book again?
Sanat Kumar Samhita. You'll see it referred to in various places in Gurudev's books. So what I'm telling is that in our universe there are 4 disciplic lines coming down from who? Brahma. Then who else? Shiva. Then Lakshmi. And 4 Kumaras.
Oh, we didn't get to that.
Yeah. So that's what I was explaining why, because you didn't know about the 4 Kumaras, but you knew about Brahma, Shiva, and Lakshmi. Right. So in our universe, these are the 4 sampradayas. Jai Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. These are the 4 authorized. They're authorized because they've come down from the beginning of the creation. And each one of these sampradayas is existing in on this planet and other planets. But on this planet, in this Kali Yuga, those 4 universal personalities accepted acharyas to represent them on this planet. So especially in South India, before Mahaprabhu descended, those 4 acharyas descended at different points in time. Some like 1200 years ago, another 800 years ago, like that. Over the last 1200 years, before Mahaprabhu took birth and appeared in this world.
Like Kali Yuga.
In the Kali Yuga. These are all coming in the Kali Yuga because the Kali Yuga started 5,000 years ago. So these acharyas are receiving directly from the universal personalities. They directly had their darshan and they propounded that line of Vaishnava philosophy and understanding. And so there are 4 different sampradayas. And those sampradayas are all over the universe. But on this planet, those personalities, like Lord Brahma, he accepted this personality named Madhva Acharya. And we are in that line. Lord Chaitanya took initiation from his spiritual master, who was coming in the line of Madhvacharya in South India. And Madhvacharya, by the way, just so that you know, he's actually an incarnation of Hanuman and Bhima. Bhima was one of the 5 brothers, the Pandavas. He's the strong one, who's voracious eater, Bhima. Madhvacharya appeared in South India. There's a whole book about his life. So he was extremely strong and powerful, but also brilliant. Great devotee with the highest realizations. And he wrote various books and commentaries, which we have. This is a very rich description of the real truth that is available in this world. Everything other than this is speculation. And it is described that sampradaya vihina ye mantraste nishvala mata. What this means is that if one has not received initiation and mantra in one of these authorized four sampradayas, then mantraste nishvala mata. The mantra will not give the proper fruits. It will not be effective, that mantra. It has to come in an authorized line, from an authorized guru, a great realized authority, you see. So, one is not to associate with a Vaishnava who has a faulty conception of Siddhanta, even if he is within one of the four Vaishnava Sampradayas. Even if he is within one of these four Vaishnava Sampradayas, he may not have a proper conception of the philosophy. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his secretary, Swarup Damodar Goswami, there were many persons while Mahaprabhu was living in Puri who would come from other sampradayas. They would come to visit Jagannath Puri, to have darshan of Jagannath, but they also came to meet Mahaprabhu. And there were cases when persons, they had written, some of these persons who wanted to meet Mahaprabhu, they had written certain types of essays or books, right? And those books would have to be examined by Swarup Damodar first, before they would be given to Mahaprabhu. Because one person wrote with faulty Siddhanta, faulty conception, one time. And Mahaprabhu was very displeased. So ever since that time, it was called Rasabhas, which means an improper understanding of Rasa Tattva. And he was speculating when he wrote this. So henceforward after that time, then Swarup Damodar would have to, no one could give something directly to Mahaprabhu. It would have to be examined and approved of by Swarup Damodar Goswami before it would be submitted to Mahaprabhu. So the thing is that we've experienced it. We have certainly experienced that even in our Krishna consciousness movement of the modern day, that some persons develop misconceptions and faulty understanding of the philosophy. I won't go into details because there's no time, okay? But this is a very important point. One should not associate with Vaishnavas even, who have a faulty conception of Siddhanta, even if he is within one of the four Vaishnava Sampradayas. And this point is worthy of consideration. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke to one of the acharyas in Udupi, from the Madhvacharya line, he told to him, Prabhu kahe, karmi gyani dui bhaktihin, tomar sampradaya deki se dui china. Mahaprabhu spoke with one of these acharyas 500 years ago when he went there to South India in Udupi. And then he told to that person, he said, those persons who are karmis, who practice karma yoga, and jnanis, they're bereft of bhakti. And I am observing these symptoms present in your sampradaya, that gradually there was a deviation. And we have seen over hundreds of years that practically everywhere you'll find deviation over time in various sampradayas, okay? I mean, I'll give you an example. The Sikh religion, right? That's something that we know in the modern day. Where did it originate? The Sikh religion, it originated from a personality known as Guru Nanak. Have you heard his name before? So Guru Nanak, Gurudev told that Guru Nanak was a great Krishna Bhakta, very great Krishna Bhakta, devotee of Krishna, and his immediate disciples, of whom there's like 10 in their disciplic line, they were all great Krishna Bhaktas. They wrote many, many kirtan songs glorifying Krishna and everything, right? And not only that, but Guru Nanak was living at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Guru Nanak actually came to Jagannath Puri during the time of the Rath Yatra and danced in the kirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So these persons, the Sikhs, they originate from North India, called Punjab. And they're tall-bodied, larger bodies than other parts of India. And they are like, they're warriors. They're Kshatriyas. There's so many of them. And Gurudev told this. In fact, he told it in a Sikh temple in London when he was lecturing there, because there were so many Sikhs. And Gurudev was glorifying Guru Nanak and telling about how the Sikh Dharma, of the Kshatriya Dharma, because you see the Sikhs have the turban, they have the sword, they have so many things that are symbols of warriors, of Kshatriyas, right? And Gurudev said that this was started at the time of Guru Nanak to protect India, to protect the Holy Land from the invasion of the Mughal, Muslim conquerors who were coming down from the north. So there was very great battles that the Sikhs fought to protect the eternal Dharma, the Sanatan Dharma of India from the invasion of the Muslims. And of course, over time, the Muslims conquered over various parts of India. So, but what I'm explaining, why I'm explaining this is that Gurudev explained that at that beginning stage of this offshoot of Vaishnava, he said this is Vaishnava Dharma. The Sikhs are Vaishnavas, worshippers of the Supreme Lord and Krishna. But he said at that time that their religion was very strong. But over time, within the last 500 years, if you look at what became of these lines after those first 10 gurus or so, then it's unbelievable what happened. They completely removed the worship of the form of the Supreme Lord from their philosophy. Huh? Yes. I'll tell you, you've probably heard of the Golden Temple in India, world famous in Amritsar, right? That Golden Temple, we went there with Srila Gurudev actually. And you have to walk into the middle of this big lake. It has a bridge that goes there, and that's where the Golden Temple is. That Golden Temple, it was originally, from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, it was a temple of Lord Ramachandra. Yes. But now, when you go there, no deities are there. And the whole philosophy and religion of Sikhism has completely removed although they have all the kirtans and bhajans and everything, they don't have the deity of the Lord in their temple. And you know what they have in its place? The book. The book that was written by Guru Nanak is called the Granth Sahib. Granth Sahib. And that book is placed on a worshipable table, and they read from that book and everything. But they have no deity in the temple. Just imagine how Maya, the illusory energy, changes things. That's why Krishna told in the Bhagavad Gita that I spoke this knowledge to the sun god Vivasvan. He says that to Arjuna. Millions of years before, I spoke the same, what I'm speaking to you now. And the sun god, Vivasvan, a very great Rajarshi, emperor of the sun planet, demigod, he then spoke the same knowledge to his son, Manu. And then Manu spoke it to his son, Ikshvaku. And then gradually it was passed down over thousands and thousands of years, even millions of years. It was passed down through the system called Rajarshis. Raja means king. The word Raja means king. And Rishi means a very enlightened saint. Okay? Rishis, spiritual practitioners. So the kings of the ancient times, all throughout our universe, they were Rajarshis, means a Raja Rishi. They were saintly kings. They're not ordinary politicians and kings, you see? So they were qualified to receive this knowledge and to hand it down and to protect it. So that's called the Parampara system, which Krishna instituted, right? But then in the Gita, Krishna says, after these persons began to hand it down, he says, Sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. He says, in the course of time, kala means time. Sakale neha means in the course of time, yogo nashta parantapa. This knowledge of yoga, the relationship of the soul with the Supreme Soul, it was lost. This is the nature of the material world. So therefore, even in disciplic successions, coming down from authorized sources, it will definitely in course of time deviate. And what has to happen then, Krishna says, that yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijami aham. This is the most famous verse of the Bhagavad Gita. People in India, if they have learned anything, they know this verse. It's very famous. Yada yada hi dharmasya. So Krishna says, after that knowledge was lost, then I appeared in this world. He says, whenever and wherever Dharma goes into degradation, Dharmasya glani it's called, and abhyutanam adharmasya, that means that the opposite of Dharma, which is adharma, irreligion, it rises up. When Dharma is going down and adharma is rising up, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya. Whenever this happens, and wherever it happens, tadatmanam srijami aham. Aham means I. I manifest myself. This is Krishna in the form of Vasudeva Krishna or Vishnu. That's his responsibility in the universe, because Lord Vishnu is the creator of the universe. So he's responsible for continuing the line of Dharma for the benefit of the living entities, so that they can come into the line and gradually be elevated and go to the spiritual world. See? So it's a very important point that when someone notices deviation from actual Siddhanta, this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is pointing out. And he's saying that even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu noticed it at the time when he was on the planet, and he told that to the Acharya. I'm observing these symptoms of jnana and karma that are bereft of bhakti. I'm seeing this present in your sampradaya, in your disciplic succession. But he says to the Acharya, he says, but your sampradaya has one virtue, one very great quality, and that is your sampradaya accepts the deity form of Bhagavan, the Madhvacharya line. See? So in that way, this is an important point that we covered today. We'll continue on tomorrow. But even to this day, there are offshoots in the Madhvacharya line, which are actually against the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu line. And this happens historically over time, again and again. Even 200 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the deity of Rupa Goswami that is worshipped in Jaipur, right? Govindaji, that's Rupa Goswami's deity that was brought there to protect when the Mughals were attacking in North India. So, but 200 years ago, about 250 years ago, at the time of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladev Vijayabhushan, there was a whole controversy that arose from some of these Smarta Brahmanas. They did not want to accept the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an authorized disciplic line. They said, no, you claim to be in the Madhvacharya line, but your whole line from Chaitanya, it is another offshoot. We cannot accept it as being in the four Vaishnava Sampradayas. The four Vaishnava Sampradayas, their acharyas, each wrote a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, very deep philosophical commentary. So they said, unless your disciplic succession has its own commentary, then we cannot accept it as authorized. So who then performed this miraculous feat of writing the commentary of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya, our commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which is known as Govinda Bhashya commentary. Who was the author of that? Baladev Vijayabhushan, who was sent there by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He was his disciple. And he prayed to the deity of Govindaji, and then within a short time, within 1 week practically, he wrote the entire commentary called Govinda Bhashya commentary. And then, astonishingly, he presented the philosophy so perfectly that they all had to accept. So anyway, I'm going on and on. But now is time for our Gaur Artik and Radha Krishna Jugal Artik. Gaur Premanandi. Vancha Kalpaturubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo